first opportunity to observe this very interesting public figure, I fancy he could be maybe a little unfair, perhaps brutal, if he held all the cards and he was sure you held none. But it was a somewhat unusual situation that confronted General Donovan. Here were the molders of opinion surrounding his death, and evidently in earnest. The discussion rapidly became a rather direct and pointed colloquy between the General and myself. He said, "Now, Mr. Colby, you and I are both lawyers. What is this freedom of the press and what does it amount to?" As if he thought the question was somewhat inflated and that we were making much of it, instead of regarding it in its just and true proportion. Well, I said, "General, if you were asking me to define the freedom of the press, I confess that I can't give you one of those rippling, tight, compact classroom definitions. And I doubt very much if the Chief Justice of the United States, where he's sitting in my chair, would be able to do so either. But that doesn't alter the fact that it's a very real thing. And these gentlemen here assembled are prepared to face any hardship, any sacrifice, any discomfort, any misunderstanding, rather than to consciously consent to its curtailment or abridgment or compromise." It was, as you can readily imagine from those rather pointed exchanges, a very interesting talk. The result of it was that we were asked to write our own ticket and to submit to him something that would satisfy. And before leaving Washington, we did executive order to supersede the one that had been so irritating and so alarming, in which the words were contained that nothing in the code should be deemed to qualify or modify or in any way restrict the constitutional freedom of the American press. That was adopted by the President, and the next day incorporated it in order of his own signature. And the newspaper men scattered to their several places of usefulness and abode. We heard very little about that. And they decided, having got what they wanted, they would say very little about it. And just the next day I was called up by Dean Ackerman of the School of Journalism of Columbia, who said that he regarded the encounter and its outcome as one of the most important historical. And I speak at this length about this little incident for the purpose of making clear to you that it isn't a little rummaging in Colby antiquities that we are engaged upon, but we are dealing with a very vital principle of the present hour, with a very happy distinguished association between that principle and this great public devoted to the same memories, the same hopes, the same activities in the present that you are.